I'm just super excited to listen or to hear more about like your future camping and your scuba diving and any
Oh, thank
struggles that you're overcoming on motorcycling, because I think a lot of people want to hear that. They definitely want to hear that.
you. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think probably another thing I can think of now is our upper body strength not being as much as like a guy's. So we do need to learn the proper technique of how to lift a bike up,
Hmm.
because if you don't have the technique right, you can't do it with some bikes. Like my current bike, the last time I dropped it, I couldn't pick it up because I didn't have all the. So my bike is 401 pounds,
Uh-huh.
and I've picked up heavier when I've had someone telling me how where to put my hand, where to put my waist, everything, all the details to get it right. And then as I was trying to lift it by myself, I realized I wasn't getting all the details right, and I wasn't able to lift my bike up
Hmm.
that proper way. So like someone had to help me. So I think we girls may need that too. Is we need to get our skills in that much more honed in, because some things we can't make up for with strength.
Hmm.
Um, and then maybe another thing. Uh, Now, at the risk of sounding sexist,
That's
I had
fine.
no interest. I had no interest in cars, and I'd never driven like a manual or anything like that before I started riding.
Hmm.
And everything I knew about maintenance, I for like cars, I didn't. I just had a light that would come on in my car, and it would say, "Change this, do this, do this." So I didn't know any of that stuff instinctively.
Hmm.
But I noticed like my boyfriend knew all of that instinctively without needing to read his manual when he first had a bike.
Hmm.
So he knew like he had to check oil, make sure the oil levels are good, the brake levels are good, all that stuff that I only know now because I've read my manual multiple times to learn that. But he knew it because he's obsessed with cars, and he likes to work on his own car because he wants to know how to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he drives a manual car too. So
Yeah.
he had like a concept of when to switch gears and all that stuff. And I didn't. I had to,
You had to learn that through just doing
but
it. Like just
yeah, doing it and studying it.
yeah.
Yeah, and actually like studying it too, because it's not instinctive. At least it wasn't for me.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is not instinctive for me either. So don't worry. that's that's definitely not a sexist thing. That it's literally like I didn't know anything about motorcycles either, and I
Mm-hmm.
had to figure it out. And then there was times where like, oh crap, I've been riding around like this whole time when I should have done this, and it's like, ooh, I'm so glad nothing bad happened. So
Mm-hmm.
you start to learn
I've had a
that.
lot of those.
Yeah, so see, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. It's what you don't know that you keep doing that causes a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
I'm still in that spot. There's a lot of mechanical stuff that I'm just like, I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm screwing it up. I'm not going to do it. Um, but that whole exposure thing, I totally agree. I totally agree. Like if I don't know, just pick anybody's name. I don't want to keep saying my wife's name because I don't want her to get mad at this one. But like same thing though. I mean, same thing. It's like I'm having to explain. Okay, we got to do your oil. We got to lube your chain. We got to do this. And she doesn't know. But then again, like 2 years ago, I didn't know. Like I didn't know. Like, well, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I knew how to change my oil and all that, but I mean, like the chain stuff, I've never had a chain driven motorcycle until recently. So I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
how to lube it. I didn't know how to
Mm-hmm.
do all that. So I had to look at the service manual. I had to do all that stuff too. So I think when people see a man riding a motorcycle or doing something, talking about it, that's why I say they're either bullshitting you because they're like, because I want to think that they're bullshitting because I want them to think they're in my spot, or they absolutely know because they've grown up with it. So it's either bullshit or they grown up with it or they just barely found out. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things. That's why when people bring up the CCs or how much torque you have, it's like, come on, that's on the spec sheet at the dealership. I think you just looked at it or you're
I was like,
guessing.
how much you live, bro?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's, oh my gosh, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Um, but the whole why on that, and I think about that is it is like a macho thing, but I think that might be I'm assuming it might be like a turnoff for women to get into motorcycling because it's this whole I have to know all this crap. I just want to ride a motorcycle and have fun on the
Mm-hmm.
motorcycle
Mm-hmm.
instead of having to understand. torque and all that stuff, which, I mean, you should understand how to lube your chain and change your oil. But that once, like you just said, I read the manual multiple times. I figured it out. So the barrier to entry, you don't need to know all that. Huh?
What's that?
I was saying the barrier to entry into motorcycling, you don't have to know how to lube your chain and do all that other crap. Just start riding and then figure it out on your while you're doing it.
Yeah. So. Sorry, my computer was dinging at you.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
But yeah, and I when I first started riding, I remember just skipping maintenance and all that stuff because I was like, it's so overwhelming. I'll just do it later. But that ended up being really detrimental. Because I didn't know about like proper how to take care of, like, it ended up, my first bike, my engine seized because the oil level was gone because I never checked it. Yeah.
Were you riding?
I was riding a lot that first year. Every weekend I could. Suzuki, Japanese made bikes, they're just so reliable so it literally had no problem until the day it died. And it was destroyed though. The engine was destroyed because it was completely dried up. And I just had no clue at that time. Like, oh, cars, bikes, whatever, they need oil replaced, they need oil checked. And now I know because now that happened and because I've made sure now I read my manual more than once so that I remember and anything I like miss, I read it again and I can see it that time.
Okay. That would suck if it seized. I mean, were you riding at the time and it's like seized up?
I was on the highway and it just like shut off and I was like, that's so strange.
Oh, wow.
That had happened before when I had run out of gas. Because on my first bike, you could switch it to reserve, and there wasn't a fuel gauge. You just had to know how many miles you've done. So I thought maybe it had been that, but I can't remember what was different that made me think it wasn't that. But I took it to a shop, and they were able to see what the problem was. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like your engine seized. Sorry. There's
idiot. Yeah.
They're all asking you like, how much horsepower did this thing have? The torque?
Not a lot. One cylinder.
Well, you learned then after that. You definitely learned after that.
Yeah. It's embarrassing. I had to learn that way and like on YouTube too.
It was on YouTube?
Yes, because I posted a video of like, I don't know what's wrong with my bike.
Well, here's the thing is
I found out, so I updated everyone.
Yeah, I posted when my clutch blew up in my Sportster. Like I put like this is what it sounds. Huh?
Doing slow speed skills?
No, it was I was on my way back from the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, I believe 2017-ish, whatever, something like that. And I was on my way back and I just lost power, absolutely lost power. And I was getting like scared. I was like, oh crap, my Sportster is like my job type thing. And I made it home like in first gear in the hills. Like I had no power. And yeah, it was scary. And so I got home and I was looking through everything and I figured out it was the clutch. The clutch just blew up. The inside of the transmission, all that stuff blew up. But I posted that video. Like I was recording at the time. And I posted it and I was like, this is what it sounds like when your clutch blows up. And now that I know. But during the video, I was like, what the hell's going on? And this and this and this. And I got a lot of shit for that. They're like, you didn't know that the clutch blew up? I'm like, no, I didn't. That's why I posted this. I didn't know. So hopefully somebody else can see it. So don't feel bad about posting like your engine seizing and I should have known better. It's like I posted my clutch blowing up and I should have known better. I mean, it was nothing that I did.
You know how that happens? It just happened.
Yeah, Sportsters have a clutch that typically blows up around 30,000 miles, and I was at 27. So interesting. That's like it's consistent. I did not know that. That's the thing. A lot of people are like, "What? You didn't know that?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't know that. I didn't expect my clutch to blow up within 30,000 miles." So
no, sorry, I don't know 100% of everything.
Yeah, and then you're told that you're an idiot. So it's just whatever.
I was actually surprised I didn't get more hate than I did for what I did with my bike.
Really?
I got some for sure, but not much. And maybe it's because like I was practically crying in my video when I said what happened to the bike.
I should have cried.
Yeah, you should have cried. See, that's all you got to do. That's another thing girls have on guys.
Oh my gosh.
No, I wasn't like tears coming down, but I think, my eyes were a little watery, and I think people would tell, and I was like, it was not my fault. I mean, there's no one else to blame but me.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it.
Then you got a new motorcycle,
Also,
so.
what's that?
Then you got a new motorcycle, so it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it seems like when you just confess something or like take the blame, people don't usually argue back. They're not usually like, yeah, you're right, it is your fault. They're like, well, it's okay. Don't be sad.
You'd be surprised. There's some people out there that will do that. It's called click hide user from channel.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I block a lot.
I've had to do that for that type of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I block a lot, mercilessly.
Don't even care. Don't even care.
No, I don't. So, even if it's not that bad, I'm like, I don't want to see this kind of comment again. So, yeah. Bye, Felicia.
Are you planning on scuba diving though this year? You said you want to make time for it. Are you?
Probably not this year because I just came back from a big scuba trip in Cozumel. I was there for a week. That's actually where my boyfriend proposed.
Oh yeah, I saw the picture. You guys, there was a lot of water involved, so I was like, oh okay, so scuba diving. There you go. 2 and 2 makes. There you go.
Yeah. So that was a big trip. So this year I probably won't do another big one. I might do like a weekend one, that like in the Florida Keys.
Okay.
But for now, I'll need to save up some before I do another big scuba trip.
So that you started scuba diving and motorcycling around the same time. So that was one of those things that stayed with you then after becoming a single.
Actually, I got scuba certified a few years before but I didn't do any scuba diving because I was one of those pushover girls, and I was dating a guy who
don't go scuba diving. Don't go scuba diving.
Actually, no, this gets worse. I was dating a guy who was still in school, so I was like paying for everything for him. And I was like, I don't want to pay for a scuba trip for him too, so I'm not gonna go scuba diving while we're dating. And then just before I knew it, years had passed, and I hadn't gone scuba diving with the certification I had. So when I was single, and that same time that I learned to ride motorcycles, that year I did a bunch of scuba diving.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now you're still doing it. So that's really cool. That's really cool. I'd like to see more of that scuba diving stuff. I mean, I that's something that's so unique.
Really
huh?
I said I know I really need to.
Yeah, you should.
I'd really need to find time to make those videos.
No, but I think your videos are doing really well. When I see them, you post like every so often, but the views are really good for the size of a channel, basically. So I think you're resonating with people when it comes to that, just sharing a personal story. I think sharing there is something to do with storytelling, and so really you must be grabbing some people with that. Just keep doing that. Keep doing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I it's crazy because I wouldn't think that would be it, especially because I don't think my story is that unique or special. Like, it's like many others. It's like your story. Maybe that's why it does well, because other people are like, hey, me too.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Other people are like, oh yeah, that happened to me, and then they can relate to you with that. And if they can't relate to you, now they're still listening to an awesome story. So that's the way it works on YouTube and podcasts and all that stuff. Just having a story.
Yeah.
Cool. Very nice. Cool. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel so special to be on here.
Well, I'm glad you're able to be here and share with us what you've been through and how you learned and your own journey. That's basically what this is all about, trying to figure that out with other people.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for having me. You've got great content, great videos, great personality, big heart.
Thank you.
So
appreciate
great to be growing and
cool
and everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you so much. I'll be seeing you around.